story you're about to hear is going to sound fake. Often when I tell this story, people will ask me which subreddit did I find it on. Unfortunately, this story is not fake, and I did not find it on Reddit. I witnessed it with my own eyes. Listen to this. Back when I was in middle school and living in Michigan, we had one of the biggest blizzards that our state ever recorded. It was during the month of December, and I remember the school gave us the whole week off because of how much snow we had gotten. Anyway, I think it was like day 3 into our week off. I woke up early one morning, about to make some hot chocolate and put on a Christmas movie, when I saw something in my front yard that wasn't there the day before. It was a snowman. Now, for context, I was an only child, so it wasn't any siblings that could have possibly made this snowman, and it wasn't my parents because I simply asked them. Confused as to how a snowman could just appear in our front yard when it wasn't there the night before, I texted some of my neighborhood buddies, asking them if they had done it. All of them said no. At this point, I was very curious. I put my hot chocolate down, put on my boots and winter coat, and went out to our front yard to further investigate. It was a plain snowman, but there was no hat, no carrot nose, no sticks for arms, and no scarf around the neck. Literally just a plain and simple snowman. Even though I did not make it, I wanted to make it look better. I walked over to one of our front yard trees and found a couple of sticks. I brought these back to the snowman and shoved it into its sides for arms. The only problem was, when I shoved the first stick into the base of the snowman, it did not go in. Almost like I was shoving the stick into ice rather than snow. I looked at where I tried to stick it in and saw black, almost like something was inside of the snowman other than just snow. This really intrigued me, so I simply decided to push the entire snowman over to see what was inside of it. And this is where the story is going to sound fake. When the snowman fell over, something large fell out of it. I walked over to it, looked down, and screamed. What had fallen out of the snowman was the corpse of a young boy. His skin was purple and blue. His eyes and mouth were frozen shut. At my young and even adult age now, as I tell you this story, I did not know how to fully process what I was seeing. After my parents came outside to see why I was screaming, the police got involved. It turns out, there was a young boy by the name of Jameson who went missing about a week ago a few counties over. Forensics confirmed that the boy who was inside the snowman was indeed the missing child. When the police went to the child's house to inform the parents, they found Jameson's dad dead in his living room with a bottle of pills and a written note next to him. The note explained that he was let go of his job and he had no money in savings. He admits that the hopelessness caused him to snap. He strangled his son and, for some twisted and perverse reason, decided to hide his son's body in a snowman, which just so happened to be in front of my house. The note further explained that the dad felt extreme guilt for what he did to his son and OD'd on Valium the next day. There was no mother in the picture, for she had died 5 years prior. Overall, it was just a horrible tragedy. I'd be lying to you if I said I did not look at snowmen the same anymore. Once you've seen a dead body fall out of one, it really messes with your sense of reality. But yeah, I know this story sounds fake, and you can choose to believe that if you want, and I won't stop you. Just thank you for listening, and please, have a wonderful holiday season. I wish I could be spreading you love and joy this holiday season, but instead, I have this nightmarish holiday story for you. Hope you like that. Listen to this. A few years back, my wife and I were flying to see my parents for the holiday season. They lived in Colorado, and the reports were telling us to expect snow when we arrived. When we landed, it was much more than snow. It was a blizzard. The rental car that we got was not able to take us safely to my parents' house, who lived about 2 hours away from the airport. So, we decided that we would play it safe and get a hotel room for the night, and leave in the morning when the roads were clear. We ended up finding a small hotel a few miles away from the airport. It was a dinky-looking hotel, but again, it was a blizzard outside, and we did not have many options. We gathered our belongings, trudged through the snow, paid the receptionist for one night, and unpacked in our room. It was a tiny room, and it had a faint smell of sour milk. Not the most pleasant room, but hey, it was the best that we could do on such short notice. After we settled in and got into our pajamas, we got into bed and both fell asleep almost immediately. It had been a long flight, and we were both just so exhausted. It would have been a perfectly calm night of sleep if I had not woken up to the noise. It was 2:45 in the morning. I could see outside the hotel window that it was still snowing hard. What had woken me up was a shuffling sound, like someone's feet walking on the carpet. I looked around the dark room, expecting to see my wife coming back from the bathroom or getting a drink of water from the mini fridge. But when I saw her laying next to me fast asleep, I realized something else must have made the noise. More awake now, I got up, using my cell phone light as a flashlight, and looked around the room for the source. In the corners, nothing. Under the bed, nothing. It was such a tiny hotel room. If I was to see something, I would have seen it by now. I was about to get back into bed, chalking the noise that I heard up to just my imagination, when my cell phone light fell onto the bathroom door. It was slightly open. I could not remember if it was open or shut before I went to bed. I took a few steps closer, curious, and pushed it fully open. I turned on the light, and nothing. No one or anything was in the bathroom. I was realizing how paranoid I was being about the whole situation when I saw it. The shower curtains. They were moving, as if someone was right behind them, running their fingers up and down. What I did next, some may call it bravery, but I call it stupid. I reached down for the shower curtain and pulled it back. I could not believe what I saw. Crouched down in the shower at 2:45 in the morning of this dinky hotel room was the hotel front receptionist. In his hands was some kind of camera, like a GoPro. The receptionist, looking wild that I had found him in our bathroom, tried to bolt past me and out the hotel door. I quickly followed suit and was able to tackle him to the ground in the hallway. The commotion had awoken my wife, who poked her head out of the door and was looking in horror at me on top of this guy. I told her to go and get someone who works here now while I held down this creep. My wife came back with 2 hotel staff, one of them being the manager on duty. After I explained what happened, we were able to bring the receptionist into the staff break room and have him wait there until the police arrived. With the blizzard still going strong, we did have to wait about 2 hours before a unit could be dispatched, but it was well worth the wait. Turns out, this receptionist had been working for the motel for 3 years. He was a middle-aged guy, single and living alone. When they confiscated the GoPro off him, they had found hundreds and hundreds of videos of guests showering, sleeping, and going to the bathroom. He was what you would call a peeping Tom. He ended up being fired on the spot and taken to the courthouse for further ruling. I have no idea if he was sentenced or not, but I pray that he was. As you can expect, my wife and I could not sleep the remainder of the night. But the next day, we were able to safely drive to my parents' house and somewhat enjoy the holidays. So I hope you all have a wonderful holiday this season, and if you're staying in a hotel, check the bathroom for cameras or any peeping Toms. Stay safe. Remember seeing all those crazy people lined up at retail stores during Black Friday? You'd see videos of fights, theft, and just madness ensue because of discounted electronics. Well, this story trumps all that. Listen to this. A few years back, after I had just moved into my new townhouse in Philadelphia, I was out Black Friday shopping for a new TV. I was 23 and lived alone, so a TV was a must for me, otherwise I'd be bored out of my mind on the weekends. Anyway, it was Black Friday, and I was at my local Walmart looking for the best deal possible. Well, After fighting my way through hordes and hordes of people, I finally found myself a 45-inch TV that wasn't too expensive. And, to my luck, I realized it was literally the last one left in the electronics department. And overcome with joy, I put the TV in my cart and headed for the register. While I was waiting in the long line, a man in his late 50s approached me. He looked tired. He had bags under his eyes and a very unpleasant look on his face. He walked straight up to me and asked if he could have the TV. I told the man hell no, it was the last one and I needed it. He grabbed my shoulders, looked me dead in the eyes, and begged for it. He pulled out his wallet and said he'll pay me double for it right now. As tempting as this was, I still said no. I did not come out here in this madness not to get what I wanted. This seemed to really piss him off, and even threatened to find out where I live and come kill me. I told him if he doesn't get away from me now, I'll get the police involved, who are all over Walmart due to it being Black Friday. The man glared at me with death daggers and sulked away. I was so uncomfortable at this point that when I was done being wrung out, I asked one of the Walmart associates to escort me to my car. When the TV was finally loaded into my car, I thanked the Walmart associate and gave him a tip. As I was pulling out of the hectic parking lot, I saw that man who wanted my TV staring at me as I drove off. I remember driving home and wondering if that guy was memorizing my license plate and wondering if he was able to find my address with that information. It was a long shot, and by the time I got home and got the TV safely into my house, I had completely forgotten about my death threat encounter at Walmart. It was past midnight at this point, and I decided that I would keep the TV in its box in the living room and set it up tomorrow morning when I had the energy. I turned off all the lights in my house, made sure the doors and windows were locked, and went to bed. Around 3 a.m, while I was fast asleep in my bed upstairs, I was awoken suddenly to a crashing sound. I bolted upright in bed, alert and hyper-focused. The crashing sound came from downstairs, and it sounded like my door was kicked in. I listened closely and could hear footsteps moving hurriedly. I went to my closet, opened up my safe, took out my .45, made sure it was loaded, and headed downstairs. When I got to the bottom stairs, I was instantly cold. Like I suspected, my front door was wide open, barely hanging on its hinges. I yelled for whoever had done it to show themselves as I held my gun up scanning my living room. That's when I saw that my brand new TV was missing. I quickly ran to my broken front door and scanned the streets. At the very far corner of my street, I could see an old van peeling off, their tires screeching. I was robbed. I made a police report, but because I did not have a ring or security cameras, there wasn't anything they could really do. Now, even though I had no proof, I knew it was somehow that guy who threatened me from Walmart. I was so sure of it, I was willing to bet my life savings and my future children's life savings on it. Unfortunately, no justice was served, and that guy remains free with my TV. Now my house is filled with ring cameras and security cameras. But the biggest lesson that I learned from all this: no more Black Friday shopping for me. I just order everything online. Have a happy holiday, everyone.